My name is Dr. Upasana. I'm a counseling psychologist. और आज मैं आपसे जिस बारे में बात करने जा रही हूँ वो एक थोड़ी सी डिस्टर्बिंग, थोड़ी सी शॉकिंग न्यूज़ है जो हाल ही में हम लोगों के साथ शेयर हुई है. दिस इज़ अबाउट एन इंस्टाग्राम चैट ग्रुप जो कि क्रिएट किया गया है बाय 15-16-year-old स्कूल बॉयज़ बाय द नेम ऑफ बॉयज़ लॉकर रूम, जिसमें दीज बॉयज़ आर वेरी कैजुअली टॉकिंग अबाउट गैंग रेप, ग्लोरीफाइंग इट, slut shaming school girls, exchanging their pictures, their nude pictures, commenting on them, body shaming them, सब हो रहा है. And when these conversations and their screenshots were exposed, they were further threatening these people who did that कि तुम्हारी nude pictures भी हैं हमारे पास and we can expose you and your life is going to be hell. And apparently then they created another group. But things have escalated, it's gone to the media, it has become very, very viral. The police has started taking action, the cyber cell has started taking action. और आज ही न्यूज़ आई है that one of the teen has been taken under custody. 20 other boys have been identified of the group, and some of the other action has been taken inside of all of this. But my concern here today is while there are too many layers to this entire situation, while there's a lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue around this situation, I think my biggest concern, I think my address is to the parents who I'm sure are extremely worried about this entire situation, who are like that, how do we avoid this? How do we make sure that our kids go to the bestest of schools? We make sure that we provide everything to our kids. And what they fall back upon is this. ऐसा नहीं है ये चीज़ें पहले नहीं हो रही थी. This group got busted, right? Conversations regarding all of this amongst boys is something that's been ongoing. आज की बात नहीं है, बहुत टाइम से हो रहा है. Just because we are not exposed to it, we feel it's not happening. या ये इंसिडेंट पहली बार हुआ है, ऐसा भी नहीं है. I remember when I was in school, when I was in class 11th or 12th, there was another MMS that had come out about a couple in school, again 15-16-year-old, having their intimate shared private moment, wherein the girl was seen and identified, and things were really terrible for that girl for the rest of it, and it was similarly as shocking for all of us. And parents back then, my parents, everybody else, were also worried back then about it. So the idea is it's not something new, it's not something that has not been happening. But yes, while we know that it's been happening for so very long, what can we as parents can do to ensure the safety of our own children? And not only the safety, but the mentality with which our kids are growing up. What are they being exposed to? And how and what is your role as a parent? That you can make sure that your child is able to identify what is healthy in a relationship and all of this sexuality and what is unhealthy. Let's talk about first things first. It's important for you to acknowledge that our children, our teenagers, are growing in highly sexualized societies. They're being exposed to media, to content, to language, which is sexual in nature from a very young age. So even if you feel that they're growing up and you're protecting them well, ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है. We all, our young kids as young as 2 to 3 year olds are also getting exposed to media and songs that are very, very sexual in nature, and they're growing up and it's a normal part. So it's important that you as a parent make sure that you keep having conversations around all of these topics, because उनको तो इन्फॉर्मेशन मिल रही है कहीं ना कहीं से, बम्बार्ड हो रही है, मिल भी नहीं रही है. नॉट दैट दे सीकिंग फॉर इट, इट्स कमिंग टू देम. सो योर व्यूज इन द मैटर in this entire situation matters the most. So you've got to stand up as a parent and talk to your child about it. Now, how do you do it? First of all, you've got to make sure that you talk to your child about sex early and often. It's very easy for us to speak to our young kids as young as 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old about what is a good touch and what is a bad touch. And बहुत propagate हुआ है schools में. There have been a lot of activities. It's really gone high. Parents now have found comfort in talking to their kid about it and telling them कि good touch क्या है, bad touch क्या है, and अगर कुछ गलत होता है, or if somebody is doing bad touch to you, what do you have to do? You have to come to mama, papa and tell them, and we'll be there for you. That goes on, right? But after that, what after that? What after the fact when your child is turning around 10, around 11, and we feel they're too young? But honestly, the conversations, I'm sure, are way beyond it. You know, they're talking about girlfriends, they're talking about boyfriends, they're talking about sex, they're talking about stuff. So you are the one, again I will say, have to talk. What do you talk? How do you talk? One of the way that you can start talking to your child about all of this is by the use of media. द गुड, द बैड एंड द अगली मीडिया में बहुत सारी चीज़ें हमें पता है शो हो रही हैं. बच्चे से उसके बारे में बात करना शुरू करिए. अवॉइड करिए कोई भी जजमेंटल कॉन्वर्जेशन दैट यू वांट टू पोर्ट्रे अबाउट अ फिक्शनल कैरेक्टर. बहुत सारी चीज़ें दिखती हैं. जस्ट टॉक अबाउट इट, जस्ट बी वेरी वेरी ओपन अबाउट इट, टॉक अबाउट इट. आप जो बात करेंगे, आप जो आइडियाज़ आगे भेजेंगे, उससे बच्चे को पता चलेगा दैट what is your take on it, and how can they also bring out their experiences that they come across or they know about it. So normalize all of this conversation. That's going to be extremely important. आप जजमेंट नहीं करेंगे, आपके बच्चे के लिए आसान रहेगा आपसे आके इस बारे में बात करना. Secondly, it is important that you keep it generic. I know it's very uncomfortable to have these conversations with your child. आपके लिए भी awkward होता है कई कबार, बच्चे के लिए तो और भी ज़्यादा awkward होता है कि ये पेरेंट्स कैसी बातें कर रहे हैं. Don't talk to us about all of this. I think it's important आप इसको generic रखिए. आप बात करिए ऐसे तरीके से wherein you mention that, oh, I know somebody, that something had happened there of this nature. While you're talking about it generic, when you're not directing it towards your child, while you're not directing it anywhere else, it becomes easier to hold that conversation because it's about something else or somebody else. So, you don't have to maybe give details and confidentiality can be remained there, but you could know that, how certain people could have gotten involved or have had certain experiences. What was it for them? How did they get out of it? This again sets a tone for the fact that you are not ashamed of talking about it, and your child can also come up and talk to you about it at any point in time. Thirdly, I think it's best to give your own examples. Share your examples. I'm sure as a kid, as you yourself, as a teenager, would have gone through all of these things. आप लोगों ने भी स्ट्रगल करा होगा, आपको भी इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं मिला होगा. आपका भी सबसे पहला क्रश कौन सा था? हु वाज द पर्सन दैट यू लाइक्ड? व्हाट यूज्ड टू हैपन? व्हाट काइंड ऑफ कॉन्वर्सेशंस यूज्ड टू हैपन? कैसे कौन किसको चुराता था? टॉक अबाउट इट, नॉर्मलाइज इट. व्हेन यू स्टार्ट डूइंग इट, your child will also understand that, oh, it happened, it's normal, it's natural, I can talk to my parents. So I think that is something that you could do. That is something that you could start your conversations with. Another very interesting fact that you'll see is that what will start to happen is that kids are always often comfortable talking about things that are happening in lives of these other kids. Could be their friends or could be these other people out there that they know of. Hear them out, right? उस पर अगर आप जजमेंट करोगे, उस पर अगर आप कुछ बोलोगे, यार ये तो गलत है, ऐसा तो नहीं होना चाहिए, तुम दूर रहो ऐसे लोगों से, डिस्ट्रैक्ट करेंगे वो तुम्हें, guess what? They're not going to come back to you again. So it's your responsibility कि अगर वो आपसे कुछ बता रहे हैं, सुनो, be interested, talk to them, get them engaged. Another thing that you can probably take care of is, जब भी हम बात करते हैं, so a lot of parents come and talk about, नहीं हम तो बहुत open हैं, हम तो अपने बच्चे को बताते हैं. क्या बताते हैं about sex education? Don't have sex, don't get pregnant, don't get an STD. That's it. आगे भी तो बात करिए. Don't तो बहुत सारा है. But what gets left out is that what can they do, right? What can they do to be sexually healthy? So, we feel कि if that is how we're talking to a 15-16-year-old child कि वो sexually क्या कर सकता है, हम तो खुद अपने बच्चे को propagate कर रहे हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप कुछ propagate कर रहे हैं. You've got to tell your child that what are the ways that your child can address peer or partner pressure to be sexual when they don't feel that they're ready. Certainly a 16-17-year-old boy, we would not want kids underage to be getting involved in these activities, but it's important that that conversation, that dialogue is there, wherein your child can understand कि peer pressure है या partner का pressure है. तभी ये जो इतना सारा spreading around nude pictures हैं, that comes from a lot of pressure. You are interested in somebody, this other person says that if you trust me, if you love me, you send me your nude picture. If you don't send it, means you don't trust me. This is sheer manipulation. You've got to tell your child कि अगर कोई ऐसा कर रहा है, it's not about you don't trust that person is manipulating you. Why else would you need that? It is about each other right now, and love is not only about sexual attraction. So you've got to teach them. Now, when you've set all of that, when you've done all the groundwork with your child, wherein you've established open communication with your child regarding relationships, romantic relationships, healthy, unhealthy practices, क्या peer pressure है और क्या actual genuine relationship है that's growing and that will grow with age. जब वो सब बात हो गया है, साथ ही साथ तब जब आप अपनी ये एक बाउंड्री सेट करते हैं ऑफ डोंट्स, do not get into having sex with anybody underage, do not get pregnant, no teenage pregnancies, or do not no sexually transmitted disease, then that they've got to know is non-negotiable. And they'll know it. Why? Because you've done the groundwork. You've told them why. You've told them that why these things will do not have a place at this point in time in your life, and it will follow later in your life. Why? Because you've done the work, you've done the conversation, you've heard them. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you've used your ears more than your mouth. And then when you're setting these boundaries as non-negotiables and that their safety comes first, I'm sure your child will understand. And also for them to know that if ever they still get into a situation which is dangerous, or they still get into the situation wherein a mistake has happened, your child should have that trust that they can come up to you and not hide and not try to cover it up and cause more damage than doing any good to themselves. So that is what is the next thing that then you could do. Apart from that, I think some more things that really helps is, बहुत बार ऐसा हो जाता है या भी आपको लगेगा कि अब हमारा रिलेशनशिप ही ऐसा है कि हम नहीं बात कर सकते. Find a surrogate. Find another trusted adult that your child can be comfortable with and talk to. It could be a school counselor. It could be any other adult who's elder to them, and but yet can form a better rapport with them because they're younger, and they can have that conversation with your child, and you know that your child is going to listen to them more because that person is not a parental figure and it is not coming as a lecture, but it's more like a more like a friendly approach kind of a thing. So you can do that too. Another thing that can also happen is, I remember when I was a child, when I was a teenager, my father, being an avid reader, had a huge library. So he had certain books on sexual education and all of that. So I remember when I was in class 2, or when my first tooth came out, my milk tooth came out and fell down, my father got me this book about, and that name of the book was Woman's Body. तो उनमें उन्होंने मुझे वो चैप्टर ऑफ टीथ खोल के दिखाया कि हाउ दिस प्रोसेस इज नॉर्मल, कि आप जब छोटे होते हो आपके टीथ नहीं होते, फिर आप बड़े होते हो धीरे धीरे आपके टीथ आते हैं, फिर जब आप और बड़े होते हो, व्हेन यू रीच दिस एज, योर टीथ, मिल्क टीथ स्टार्ट फॉलिंग आउट एंड न्यू टीथ स्टार्ट टू कम. He showed me that. I was class 2, 7, couldn't even read that entire book, but I could identify it. It was out there. Then again, कुछ सालों बाद जब मेरा आई चेकअप हुआ, I figured out कि थोड़ा सा नंबर है और मुझे चश्मा लगेगा. Then is when again my father got me that book again and showed me about an eye, and that book was there, and I knew that I could open it any day. And whenever I would find time or I was alone and I wanted to open it and read it, there was so much more about a woman's body that I could read. It was right there. So he didn't have to explicitly, like I was telling you कि ये चीज़ें awkward हो जाती है, so you have to be generic and you can be generic about it. He didn't have to explicitly have every conversation about of it about with me, because I know me going up to him and asking a lot of questions could be awkward. But that book was right there. We didn't have internet back then that I could explore everything there, but that book was there. वो बुक वहाँ थी, वहाँ से एक सिमिलर बुक थी, मैन्स बॉडी, सो आई कुड रीड दैट बुक टू if I wanted to about a man's body. Then I remember later, while I was growing up, I figured out another book in that bookshelf, which was very, very direct, which was Sex Education for Teens. Now, I'm sure that wasn't for my dad, but that was for me. And I very comfortably would pick that up and I would read it, right? And I got a lot of information from a credible source that was meant for a teenager like me, and it was easier for me to understand. So, that was another thing that opened up that entire idea of that we can talk about it. It is normal. And if anything of this sort happens, I was able to form my beliefs. One, with my conversation with parents. Two, with the kind of information that they had handed out to me, if not very, very directly, very, very indirectly also. And also creating and having all of these other conversations. I remember हम लोग रात को रेडियो सुनते थे. जिसमें लोग अपना रिलेशनशिप प्रॉब्लम्स डिस्कस करते थे एंड द रेडियो जॉकी यूज्ड टू answer these questions. He will pick this up. He'll pick this up with me and he'll talk about it. He'll try to know my views about a relationship and how I will have a certain view about things and how he will tell that, why that view, right? And I'll be amazed. I was kind of giving a politically correct answer, but he's like, So these conversations, this is an ongoing process. आज ये न्यूज़ आई, आज आप अपने बच्चों को बैठा के एक लेक्चर देंगे, it's not going to work out. You've got to be consistent in that. So be consistent, be regular. Your child, the society out there is too much information, too much bombarding with a lot of things. There are not a lot of things that are in your hands, but then there are few things that are in your hands. Do take them in your hands, take a stand for it, speak to your child about it, and make sure that your child is safe and they can come to you and they can make healthy choices. That's all that I wanted to say today. Take care, be safe, and keep your kids safe. Thank you.